Hey guys, it's the Nerdy Movie Guy, and today I want to talk about a movie that maybe a lot of you haven't seen. So everyone knows about The Dark Knight and Inception and now Oppenheimer, because Christopher Nolan is an esteemed director nowadays, and he actually made a film. I believe a film from '96 to '97, I believe, and it was called Following. So I have his movie here. This is part of the Criterion Collection, and is actually my only Criterion Collection copy so far. So I have this film by Christopher Nolan, and this is actually his first film. So I found some fuzzy information on its release. I think they've made, I guess for some reason, two copies. This is a British film, and from what I can tell, I think its initial release was in '98, and there was another copy, which is not this one, but there was another copy in '99, and so information is a little fuzzy as to which copy was the first. But regardless, his movie released in what I see. Um, is 99, or at least, as far as the dates on here, it dates 99 as its debut. So, regardless, he's won an award for so many movies: Inception, Oppenheimer, The Dark Knight Rises. And I struggled to find the information on whether or not he's won an award for this because I don't watch the awards very often. I'm more of a movie watcher, not really an award watcher, which sounds pretty dumb. But regardless, from my information I found, there was a film festival in '99 that did recognize this. I believe it was nominated at least more once. And it's fuzzy whether or not it was a winner because of the names. I just don't know the names. But there was a film festival where this movie was highly recognized in '99. So regardless, I have the copy here. I want to talk to you guys about it. So as you see from its cover, this movie is in black and white. So if that's not really for you, you might have a hard time enjoying this one. If it's something that you're open-minded to, I think if you give this movie a chance, you're really, really, really going to enjoy it. The best part about this movie is, even though there's so many things I can mention, I think the best part of this movie is the story. And there's so many plot twists that just keep changing the story around almost completely over and over again. And some movies do it to the extent where it's just sort of becomes cliche. Maybe it's done in a way where it's been done so many times before, you're just sort of numb to its effect. But in this movie, I think he really did a great job at throwing a different kind of plot twist in there, just sort of mix it up. And I really loved how it was done in this movie. So to give you guys a brief synopsis, because I don't want to spoil too much, I really want you to enjoy this movie for yourselves, there's just a handful of characters in this movie. There's really, in my opinion, three. There's really three characters. And so anyway, Bill is a young writer. He's trying to be a writer, and he just starts following people to get information or really inspiration as to how or what he wants to write about. And so he comes across this character Cobb, and they become the two primary characters for the whole movie. And their dynamic just sort of keeps throwing new information, new plot twists, new concepts at you sort of over and over and over again. And so we see hints of some of Christopher Nolan's later movies, the concepts he's used injected into this movie, which was his first. And so the first thing I recognized is Batman has a no-kill rule in Christopher Nolan's trilogy. And I know there's some versions of Batman where he has that rule, some versions he doesn't. But regardless, that was one of the first thing I noticed here is when Bill starts to follow people, he has these rules about who not to follow, when to stop following, who can he follow, what information is too much. And he just sort of builds his own sort of rule set and this philosophy as to how he's going to do it. And it was just world building, it's lore building, and it's just something interesting in a movie, especially like this, to have just such a handful of characters. And in this movie, another thing I think is worthy of recognition is the dialogue. It was just constantly sharp. And so here's the thing. I think there are two types of dialogue when it comes to, we're going to use teenagers, for example. So we take sort of a lower budget coming of age movie or even a low budget horror movie, you have a handful of teenagers. Oftentimes you're going to see they're going to talk exactly how teenagers would, which is just sort of laid back, it's genuine, it's about real world topics, and it might not seem professional or fancy for a movie. And the other side of teenager dialogue, even though these aren't teenagers in this movie, I'm just using this as an example. Take big blockbuster. It's just beyond the top dialogue where you just sit back and think, no one talks like that. So I think this movie sort of rides the middle. And the reason I say that is they are having real conversations in this movie of something they would talk about. But at the same time, it's clever conversation to the point where almost every single scene, character poses a question that leads to the next scene. And sometimes it doesn't feel natural, sometimes it does. But regardless, you just notice he's sort of implanting a dialogue that sort of feels as real as can be while setting up the movie and letting it carry the movie from beginning to end. And so that's something that I just find real fascinating because I don't notice that kind of dialogue in really a lot of movies anymore. There are some movies where you do see it, but I just don't see it in this, or I don't see it in a lot of movies, at least recently. So that's what I appreciate about this one. And so as the movie sort of progresses, there is a bigger plot. There's a reasoning for, the burglary. There's a reason for following people. And there's a reason for everything these characters are doing, for their own agendas, their own purpose, their own mission. And those concepts just sort of blend together so well because the movie just sort of gives you more and more information little by little from these characters as far as what they want to do, what they want to accomplish. And I guess the next part of this movie I want to mention is, I think scattered is the wrong word, but for a lack of a better term, this movie sort of gives you a scene where you learn a little bit about what's going on, and then the next scene shows back in time, giving you an explanation, a reasoning to what this scene is for. And so it does that a lot throughout the movie. So there's a lot of present, past, present, past, present, past, present, past. It's to the point where I enjoyed it because the way you're getting small information is sort of just one of those, aha, I get it, I recognize that. And it's just interesting to find out this information little by little. So if you're one of those people that likes to just see the movie chronologically filmed beginning to end, then this movie might not be for you because its style is so different because of it being fragmented, for lack of a better term, it's fragmented to the point where you get certain scenes in pieces and you get information throughout the movie. And I was just able to sit back and enjoy it. I thought it was cleverly done. It was fascinating. It was interesting. And another thing about this movie is when it comes to something like this, especially for someone's first film, a lot of times sometimes when you go back to watch someone's first film, there's going to be mistakes you notice because it's their first go at it. And for me, there wasn't really a mistake in this movie, not to me. And now I'm not a film critic. I don't know how to look for real, honest mistakes. But to me, the plot, the acting, the character building, and the story, and the cinematography, I just didn't have a problem with any of it. I didn't think any of it was lazy. I didn't think any of it could have been done better. I never had the thought in my mind, oh, I can do that. So this movie just really stands out for me in the midst of my film collection because there's really not another movie like this. Not that I've seen, not that I own. And it's cool to have a movie like this that can just stand out so independent and so on its own that everything else cannot be compared to it. So now there's a lot of movies, pre-2000s that may be in black and white that maybe this film was inspired by. Maybe there are movies with a plot or tone similar to this one, but I just haven't seen it. So for me, I can't compare this really to anything. So regardless, as we bring this video to a close, I was just completely satisfied with Christopher Nolan's first work. It was really cool to see. It's cool to have this movie in the Criterion Collection. No, it is not in 4K. It is in Blu-ray. I don't know if or when they would make this in 4K, with the black and white style this film is filmed in, I don't know if a 4K release would enhance anything. Maybe it could, but the Blu-ray copy I think just works so perfectly because you sort of the grain to the movie sort of builds its style and tone that I think 4K might depreciate just sort of the viewing experience, the way this movie was filmed and the way it was intended to be watched. So I almost think 4K might not do this movie justice, but who am I to judge? I think it could be cool if they do make it 4K. I'll definitely want to see it and check it out just to kind of sort of compare the two copies. Regardless, we have this movie in the Criterion Collection. I have not done enough research to know if there is a separate Blu-ray copy that is not in the Criterion Collection. There may be, I just don't know about it. Regardless, there could be more than just this one copy for you guys to get your hands on. Regardless, I think this would be a great first movie for your Criterion Collection if you don't already have one. Just because Christopher Nolan, in my opinion, has not made a bad film. I have not seen them all, so I can't say that he might not have a bad one. I just have not personally disliked any of his films that I've seen. So it was a great first watch. Very interesting, clever dialogue, plot twists left and right. This keeps you on the edge of your seat from start to finish. And the last 10 minutes, as far as the plot twists are concerned, the last 10 minutes is just truly insane. It just messes with your mind in so many ways. And when this movie finished, I was just sort of sitting there with my jaw dropped because I couldn't believe what I just saw. It was intense. It builds on suspense. This just sort of, in my opinion, has everything you're looking for when you hear about a movie like this. So if you haven't seen it before, I would recommend this being a great first copy for your Criterion Collection. If you love Christopher Nolan, I think this would be a great movie to have in your collection because I think if you love his work, you're going to love this one too. So regardless, I have this copy. I'm glad I have it. I want to sort of give you guys an example because now that you've heard of Criterion Collection, if you haven't, it's one of those boutique labels where you just can't find it everywhere. But if you come across this copy, I think you're going to appreciate having it in your collection. If you guys are seeing this review and you haven't seen this movie before, if you ever do check it out, please let me know what you think in the comments. I personally have not heard anyone in my social circle talk about this movie directly. So I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts and comments of this movie. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me for this review. See you next time, everyone.